just congratulations to Aussie on what was a really tense test match. You know, the first test for both teams and for the year, and you know, it was pretty obvious that both teams had high intention, really willing. Both probably missed opportunities that they would have liked. You know, and both teams will pick up opportunities they missed in the review. But you know, it's from our perspective, it's didn't go our way in many ways. The Aussies played a lot of rugby against us, and we gave them some easy outs with their kicking from their exits, which really meant that we had to make a lot of tackles in that game. And really proud of the discipline of our team. I thought we dealt with that really, really well. It kept us in the game and created a few opportunities that we weren't good enough to take. And at the end of the day, with a draw, that's bitterly disappointing from an All Black side, but it's a start. And we've got a pretty good marker where we're at right now.
Ian, we've waited quite a long time for some All Black rugby. Can you sort of just talk us through that, those sort of 7 minutes of stoppage time and your reaction to that?
Yeah, well, I'll take your word. It was 7 minutes. Probably felt like 70 to me. You know, it was it was an outstanding kick from Reece Hodge, wasn't it? You know, and from that moment on, it just it seemed to go on and on and on. But I loved our attitude. I thought we played some smart rugby in that little window. We got ourselves in through our line out and our drive, and we got ourselves into a really good opportunity. And again, we just weren't quite clinical enough or coordinated enough, is probably the best word, to take it. So, you know, we'll take some learnings from that. I love the don't give up attitude at the end, but you know, we've got to be smarter than that in the minutes leading up to that, and we just got to make sure we utilise our strengths a little bit more than what we did in that game.
Ian, will you look back to Rieko Ioane not forcing the ball on half-time and think could have gone in with a 13-3, 15-3 lead and the game might have been a bit different?
Yeah, it would have been useful. You know, he's feeling pretty frustrated with himself, but you know, that's one of those little lessons that players have to go through. And you know, I thought he had a reasonably strong game apart from that. But yep. So in test matches, that's what they're called, test matches. You've got to take those little moments, and when you get a little bit sloppy in those moments, it can come back and bite you.
Would you have liked your side to shape for a drop goal in that 7-8 minute period?
Yeah, well, we had a number of opinions in the box. But no, we were well set up. I thought we calmed ourselves down, and we were well set up under the goalpost for either a drop kick. And I think you'll see Richie was hovering around in that position. But you know, Geordie called the ball, and it was actually a pretty solid decision in its own, because you know, George Bridge was pretty well unmarked out the side. But again, that's a skill execution. We just couldn't quite get the ball out where it needed to be. So, you know, that hurts. But again, it's a message to us all that Test rugby's back, and if you're not good enough in those big moments, then you don't get what you want.
Just on that, Sam, in terms of the drop goal, was that talked about much? Is that sort of the responsibility of Richie and the kickers, or how did that sort of happen on the field? Was there any chat of that?
Look, to be honest, there wasn't much stoppage to have a chat. It was pretty all go that last what felt like 70 minutes. Yeah. Look, once we won the penalty and went for the drive option, we're aiming to get a penalty there. We'd communicated that, and from there I think the ball was turned back and forth a couple of times. So, short answer, no, it wasn't communicated. But yeah, 100% back Richie and also back Geordie's call. Just highlights Test match footy is about taking opportunities, and there might only be a couple in a game.
Sam, what was the ferocity like of the Wallabies at the breakdown compared to previous years?
Well, I think the breakdown often, the ferocity of the opposition and how well they contest the breakdown often comes down to how well we're carrying the ball and how quickly our support is to get there. So, you know, look, Michael Hooper's been around 100 tests, and a fair few of them have been against us, so we know what he's about. But well, I think the breakdown was hotly contested, like it is every test match I thought we were pretty good in that area ourselves.
Yep, Ben, way you go.
Coach, fair game, but the result itself, does that put you on the back foot to retaining the Bledisloe now?
Sorry, does it put us on?
The back.
Oh, I don't think it puts us on the back foot. It means we've drawn the first one, and there's still 3 to go. So, you know, you could... I guess that turns it into a best of 3 Bledisloe, which makes it nice and simple, doesn't it? You've got to win 2. So, nothing really changes for us, to be honest. You know, like the Bledisloe is important for us, and this test showed that, you know, where both teams are at, and I think both teams will walk away from that with a lot of positives and a lot of stuff that they'll think they can go and do better next week. So, look, it bodes for a great series, and you know, hopefully that gets people excited. And but you know, we can't wait for Eden Park now, and we've got a job to do. And you know, Eden Park's pretty special for us, and we want to play well up there, and we're going to have to, and we saw that tonight. So, but it does mean, you know, it's going to be a best of 3 in the Bledisloe now. So that makes it nice and simple for the public.
Yeah, Sam, the All Blacks made 190 tackles tonight. Did you feel it was a game where you were just tackling the whole night? I mean, the Wallabies only made 90. Did it feel like that?
The first half it did particularly, but also felt like we were defending really well and we were creating some opportunities from turnover ball. Really pleased with our discipline. But yeah, look, in test matches you can't be defending the whole time. It'd be quite nice to apply a wee bit more pressure with the ball. And I think that'll be an area of focus for us this week.
Ian, is Rico's blunder before half-time, is that the reason you haven't come away with the win today?
No, not at all. It's you know, we had a chance to win the game in the last 10 minutes, and we weren't good enough to execute that. So, you know, you don't dwell on errors in test matches. There's a whole lot of errors before that and a whole lot of errors after that. So, but there certainly are some learnings, and you know, it's. I think, like I said, both teams will look at a couple of missed opportunities at key times that they may have failed to gain them, giving them some momentum. I mean, there's no doubt it would have been nice, but certainly not the reason we drew the game.
Just a question for Sam. Given that you basically played a golden point period over that last injury time, but do you think there's any room for perhaps that to be introduced into test matches?
I'm probably on the fence on that one a wee bit. I mean, I enjoy watching Golden Point when it comes to league, but geez, it was a heck of a tough last 10 minutes. And then, you know, some games, you know, it just doesn't feel like they're, you know, draw is a fair result. But yeah, I don't sit either way on that, to be honest.
Sam, obviously you waited a long time for this. What's your overriding sort of emotion, you know, when you reflect on that test? Was it, obviously you guys came through a lot of adversity in the end, could have won it. Disappointment or quite proud of how the guys stood up?
Yeah, probably both those emotions that you know, obviously a bit of disappointment that because we wanted to go out there and win, but also really proud of the desire, the attitude, at the end the willingness to keep playing. And you know, I know from being in teams when you're fighting at the end of a game, when there's genuine belief that you can get across the line, that you can get there, and there 100% was with the 15 boys out there. There was absolute belief, no matter what, that we were going to get there, and unfortunately we didn't quite, but yeah, that doesn't come down to those last 10 minutes. So yeah, lots of emotions, but it's funny, after as buggered as you are after a test match like that and a result like that, already looking forward to the next one.
We'll go with the last couple of questions. We've got Luke here and then one more.
Ian, especially in that first half, obviously the Wallabies had a lot of ball. You guys were defending pretty well as well. Was there anything that surprised you from how they played in terms of compared to how you maybe prepped for it?
Yeah, not really, from a sense of, I think we'd spoken beforehand, we thought they'd play a lot of ruck and run, a lot of ball retention type rugby. I thought they did that. They, you know, they're developing some strong ball carriers, and they wanted to use those quite in the quite close quarters. But, you know, like Sam said, I think that, you know, it was a pretty even contest in that area. You know, I thought we held them pretty well. So, you know, I think both teams, I think the conditions meant that neither team probably could really play with the width and maybe bring some other things they would have perhaps wanted to do in this game into play, and it probably narrowed it up and turned it into more of a carry tackle contest. So maybe we'll see a little bit more in the next one. Get a nice fine day. And can I just make one thing? I've actually forgotten to add this, but just to Michael Hooper on his achievement. You know, like I think he's been an outstanding competitor against us for a long time, and you know, 100 tests is a very, very special occasion, and I know we celebrate it a lot when it happens to one of our players. So, just congratulations to him and what he's achieved.
Yeah,
Thanks, Foles.
Oh, sorry.
Away you go.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that he's been an outstanding competitor for a long time, and to think that he's only 28, he's probably got a few more tests in him. So, yeah, congratulations to Michael.
Last question from you, Philip. Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned Rico was obviously frustrated by, you know, not to score that try. How do you kind of pick him up after a moment like that, you know, with another Bledisloe coming up?
Sounds like the article you're going to write about him. Might need to pick him up. He's okay. You know, I think, you know, part of international rugby, like I've already said, is that you make an error, you move on. And so he's a confident young man, and he's got to learn from that one little thing, but he can also focus on a whole lot of good things that he did in that game too.